We all interact with people constantly, and well, whether we think about it or not, we're all influencing someone every single day. The real question is, how can we become more effective and, crucially, more positive in that influence?
That's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're diving deep into How to Influence People, Make a Difference in Your World by John C. Maxwell and Jim Dornan. It's actually dedicated to Eric Dornan, which right away kind of highlights the lasting impact one person can have.
Yeah. And for you, our listener, maybe you want to get straight to the heart of this stuff without getting, bogged down. So this deep dive is basically your express lane. We've pulled out the core principles.
Could give you a really solid understanding of how influence works, right? The book kicks off with this really interesting list of names: John Grisham, George Gallup, Robert E. Lee, Madonna, Tiger Woods, even Adolf Hitler's on there.
Wow. Yeah. A real mix. Famous people, maybe some less familiar names too. So what's the common thread?
Exactly. That's the question they pose. And the answer is that each one, in their own very different way, has been a person of influence.
And that brings us straight to a really foundational idea in the book. Influence isn't just about having a title or, being rich or famous.
Precisely. The central idea is that real positive influence comes from adding value to other people's lives. It's about making a tangible difference, big or small.
Okay, so let's dig into the first major takeaway, which the book presents as the absolute bedrock: integrity. Maybe not the most glamorous topic, but they say it's indispensable.
That's right. They're very clear.
Mhm.
Genuine integrity isn't something you can buy or sell. Jim Dornan shares this pretty compelling personal story. He was on a business trip in Europe with his wife, Nancy, made a big purchase,
Okay.
and they declared everything totally honestly at customs.
And the interesting part, the customs agent actually recognized Jim and basically said, wow, people usually don't declare this much, implying, they could have gotten away with paying less.
Right. And Nancy's response just cuts right to it. She said, I can spare the money for customs a lot more than I can spare not having a clear conscience.
Ooh, that says a lot.
It really does. It encapsulates this powerful point. Trust, the absolute bedrock of influence, is earned through consistent integrity, even when no one's looking. You know,
Hmm.
the authors make the point that even if you think you're getting away with something small, the people closest to you often sense it.
Hmm.
And maybe more importantly.
And the book doesn't pull punches about the flip side, the destructive power of lacking integrity. They mention Ivan Bruesky, the financier, whose whole greed is good thing led to, well, serious trouble.
Yeah, it underscores how moral slip-ups, really in any area, just fundamentally eat away at trust.
Hmm.
They bring in Stephen Covey, too, reinforcing the long game. Covey basically said, look, if your character is shaky, any techniques you use will eventually just look manipulative. Long-term success, that's built on trust.
Absolutely. So integrity isn't just nice to have. It's the foundation for respect, dignity, and crucially, that trust. There's a quote from Cheryl Beale that's pretty direct. If you can't trust a person at all points, you can't truly trust him or her at any point.
And they emphasize that integrity isn't really about big public declarations. It's the small stuff, the everyday choices. They even offer like 10 self-assessment questions.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Things like, do I try to appear to be someone I'm not when I'm around different people? Or do I quickly admit wrongdoing without being pressed to do so?
Hmm. Those definitely make you think. And they draw a clear line. A person with integrity influences others for their benefit, not for selfish reasons. There's a funny New Yorker cartoon they
Oh
mention.
yeah, the hogs at the trough.
Yeah, and one hog is wondering about the farmer's motives. It really drives home the importance of genuine intentions.
And the ultimate benefit of all this integrity, it's trust. The authors are emphatic. Trust is the single most important factor in personal and professional relationships, period. It's the glue.
In a world that feels pretty skeptical sometimes, that trust is like gold, isn't it?
Totally. So how do you actively build it? The book gives some practical steps. Value transparency,
Mm.
show humility, consistently support other people. They even quote Zig Ziglar.
The classic Ziglar quote.
Yeah, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. It's about that servant mindset.
These are really concrete ways to live out integrity. And they add a really important caution, bringing in Abraham Lincoln.
The power quote.
Exactly. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. It's a stark reminder that integrity needs to hold up, maybe especially when you have authority.
Okay, so integrity is the foundation. Building on that, the next big takeaway is about the power of nurturing others. And this isn't about you know, doing favors to get something back.
Right. It's about genuinely adding value and
Mhm.
making people feel significant, feel valued.
Exactly. They tell this nice little story about a woman in a small town. She wasn't thrilled with the service at the local drugstore. But instead of complaining with her, her neighbor actually told the druggist that this woman was impressed with his store.
Ah, interesting twist.
Yeah. So the next time the woman went in, the druggist was super welcoming, asked how he could help. It completely changed the dynamic.
It's a great illustration, isn't it? People really respond when they feel respected. The book quotes Emerson, "Every man is entitled to be valued by his best moments. Nurturing is about seeing and affirming that best self in others."
And the impact can be surprisingly deep and long-lasting. There's this really moving story about Mark, a former student of one of the authors. He was killed in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
After the funeral, Mark's parents showed the teacher something they found in Mark's wallet. It was a photo of that math teacher.
No way. Just, wow, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the impact a teacher who, probably just encouraged him, nurtured him.
Exactly, the impact that had, even years later in his final moments. It's a powerful reminder of the influence we can have through simple encouragement.
It really is. They also talk about an experiment, something about enduring pain.
Yeah, the ice water experiment. People could keep their hands in freezing water way longer if someone was actively encouraging them verbally.
So encouragement isn't just psychological, it's almost physiological.
Right. George M. Adams called it oxygen to the soul. It literally fuels resilience.
That fits with Benjamin Franklin's advice to John Paul Jones, basically, praise more, admit fault more, timeless wisdom for building positive relationships.
And the flip side is true too. Withholding encouragement can be really damaging. There's a poignant story about a woman whose son felt his father never quite let him succeed, like never letting him catch the 10th ball when they played catch.
Oh, that's tough. That seemingly small thing had a lasting negative effect.
Definitely. And it ties directly into how we see ourselves, our self-worth. The book brings in Nathaniel Branden, who argued our self-evaluation shapes everything, our values, goals, beliefs. Nurturing others helps build their positive self-regard.
They mention an exercise, too, right? About strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, how people often find it way easier to list their weaknesses than their strengths. It just highlights how much we need that external encouragement sometimes to see our own value.
And nurturing can really shift perspective. The story about the two writing groups at the University of Wisconsin is fascinating. The Stranglers and the Wranglers.
Right. The Stranglers were all about harsh critique. Result, none of them became successful writers. The Wranglers, though, focused on encouragement and support.
And they produced several successful writers, including Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, who wrote The Yearling.
Exactly. It powerfully illustrates that often it's not a lack of talent holding people back, but what they think they're not. The negativity probably bred self-doubt in the first group.
While the nurturing environment let talent bloom in the second, so ultimately nurturing is about consistently making others feel valued, which kind of unlocks their potential.
Okay, moving on. Our next key idea gets into the incredible power of actually believing in people. Mark Twain had that great line, "Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions." Sets the stage perfectly.
Yeah, because the authors point out that today so many people struggle with self-belief. They see roadblocks instead of opportunities, right? They underestimate what they can do.
For sure. Jim shares a really sweet story about his Uncle Henry. When Jim was a kid, his uncle had this simple but really impactful greeting for him. Just this confident affirmation that stuck with him, gave him a sense of possibility.
It's amazing how small things like that can make a difference. It shows how just treating people like you have confidence in them can actually help them step up, help them bloom.
And to make it practical, they offered the BELIEVE acronym. It's a framework for actively building that belief in others.
Okay, let's break believe down. B is for self. Begin with yourself. Makes sense. You can't really pour belief into others if your own cup is empty, right? You need some self-belief first.
Right. E is to simply examine their track record. Help people see their past wins, their successes, like the David and Goliath story, reminding them they've overcome challenges before builds confidence for the next one.
Look at their potential. See what they could be, not just where they are now. Focus on the possibility. I is invest in them. Show you genuinely care. That means giving your time, your attention, maybe even resources. It signals they're worth investing in.
Expect the best. Let them know you have confidence in them. Your expectation can actually lift their performance.
V, voice your belief. This is crucial. Don't just think it. Say it. Tell them directly, I believe in you. I see your potential.
And the final E is encourage their dreams. Help them hold on to their aspirations. Help them believe those dreams are possible. They mentioned Jackie Robinson reminding us not to let fear of striking out keep us from playing the game.
Such a powerful image. And they also stress helping people experience some wins together. John tells a story about his older brother, Larry, always picking him first for his team when they were kids, even though John wasn't the best player.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah. But Larry made sure their team always won. And that experience gave John this lasting sense of confidence, this expectation of success. Winning together builds belief. Okay, so we've covered integrity, nurturing, believing. Now let's pivot to a skill that might seem, I don't know, passive, but the book argues it's absolutely vital for influence. Listening.
Yeah, they make a bold claim that listening is actually more critical than talent, discernment, or even charm.
Wow. Okay, how do they back that up?
Well, Jim shares his own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, he tried recruiting people by just, blasting them with information about his opportunity. Didn't work well.
Right, the hard sell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He only started succeeding when he shifted gears, when he actually listened to a colleague, vent about his frustrations, understood his needs, and then offered a solution that fit.
It highlights that idea that a deaf ear often means a closed mind, doesn't it? If you're not really listening, you're not really open.
Precisely. And listening isn't just about avoiding missteps. It actually generates new ideas. They quote Plutarch, who said something like, "Know how to listen, and you will profit even from those who talk badly." You never know where insight will come from.
That's true. The book gives some everyday examples too, right? Like the mechanic or the store clerk.
Yeah, the auto mechanic who takes a minute to explain a cheaper fix, or the store clerk who really tries to understand what the customer is looking for.
Yeah.
Those small acts of listening build huge goodwill.
And asking good questions is part of that. They mention Barbara Walters as someone's skill at drawing people out, getting clarity, building trust through her questions. It shows genuine interest.
And making listening a priority, even when you're swamped, sends a powerful message. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, apparently made a point of listening to employees at all levels, even going out of his way to do it.
Jim even shares that realization that people skills, especially listening, are crucial everywhere, not just in sales or management. Even as an aeronautical engineer, connecting and understanding people was key.
Mm-hmm. The book also flags some common barriers to good listening. Things like being too self-centered or failing to see common ground with someone. There's that story about the teenage girl and her dad.
Oh yeah, where they just couldn't connect because they weren't acknowledging any shared feelings or experiences.
Exactly. It creates this wall,
Hmm.
which leads to that really powerful principle. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And listening is a primary way you show you care.
They even include the paradoxical commandments of leadership,
Yeah.
right, which kind of emphasize caring for people unconditionally, even when it's tough.
Yeah, it reinforces that commitment. The core message is go out of your way to make people feel heard, feel valued. And the encouraging part, helping just one person by truly listening can actually influence many others through a kind of ripple effect.
Okay, next up. Understanding where others are coming from, their perspective, and then importantly, helping to enlarge that perspective, seeing things through their eyes first.
Right. The book uses a couple of great little anecdotes here. Mark McCormack's story about the kids fighting over an ice cream cone at the airport.
Yeah, and the little girl wasn't worried about fairness. She was worried about mink hairs from her mom's coat getting on the cone.
Exactly. It shows how wildly different perspectives can be.
Mhm.
And Pat McAnally's experience being seen as a jock at Harvard but an intellectual in the NFL highlights how context shapes perception.
The book has that list too, the When the Other Fella list. It's pretty convicting, showing how we judge ourselves differently than we judge others for the exact same behavior.
Oh yeah, total double standards sometimes.
Yeah.
But the good news is you can intentionally shift your attitude. They tell the Robert Schiller baseball story.
The kids striking out but yelling, "I'm the greatest!"
Hilarious, but it shows the power of a positive outlook, even if it's slightly detached from reality. Attitude makes a difference.
So, to make understanding people more practical, they have the Understand People Action Plan. 4 questions to ask when you meet someone.
Right. 1,
Mm-hmm.
where do they come from? Their background. 2, where do they want to go? Their aspirations. 3, what is their need now? Their current challenge or desire? And 4, how can I help them?
That last one is key. It shifts the focus. Ken Keyes Jr.'s quote fits perfectly. "A loving person lives in a loving world. Everyone you meet is your mirror. Your approach shapes your reality."
And that understanding naturally flows into the next concept, Enlarging people,
Yeah.
actively helping them grow, develop, reach their potential. Alma McGinnis said it beautifully. There is no more noble occupation than to assist another human being to help someone succeed.
So enlarging isn't just giving advice, it's more like a long-term investment in someone's growth.
Exactly. It builds their capacity, helps them learn, which benefits them and any group they're part of. But the authors caution against the illusion of knowledge. If you want to enlarge others, you have to keep growing yourself.
Good point. Give what you don't have. And they advise being thoughtful about who you invest in heavily, right? Focusing on those who are receptive and show promise.
Yeah, you can't enlarge everyone equally, and a big part of it is casting a vision for their future. Robert Orban's quote about realists knowing where they're going, but dreamers already being there, that's about helping people see what's possible.
And they stress dealing with character flaws first. Lincoln's analogy character is the tree, reputation is the shadow. You have to tend the tree.
Solid foundation first. John Maxwell's story about being stuck on a delayed flight is a great example of enlarging in action, even if it seems small.
Right.
He just took initiative, got permission, and started serving cokes and snacks to the frustrated passengers. He added value, shifted the atmosphere. That's enlarging the situation.
Ah, right. And finally, to really enlarge someone, you need to understand their passions, what the book calls what they sing about, and their ultimate dreams, what they dream about. That helps you guide them effectively.
Okay, next challenge. Life inevitably involves problems. So how do we help people navigate those? Albert Hubbard's quote nails it. The man who has no more problems to solve is out of the game. Problems are part of being alive.
And the book busts that myth that successful people have no problems. They mention the Cradles of Eminence study.
Right, showing that many highly successful people actually overcame huge obstacles. Their problems became stepping stones, in a way.
And just throwing money at problems doesn't usually work, does it?
Not usually. Often, money issues are symptoms of deeper things. Book says, basically, if you can't manage problems on $25,000 a year, having more money won't magically give you problem-solving skills.
So helping people involves course correction sometimes. People get off track. Influencing them means helping them adjust. Not everyone's a natural problem solver.
And it's important to teach people not to get derailed by critics. The story of Columbus and the egg anyone can criticize, it takes insight to find a solution.
Finding simple solutions is often key too, like Thomas Edison's hiring test.
Yeah, preferring the guy who just filled the light bulb with water to measure its volume over the ones doing complex math. Simple, elegant solutions.
And boosting someone's confidence when they're facing a problem is huge. George Matthew Adams's quote about mindset, a confident attitude empowers people to tackle challenges.
Absolutely. Because when people learn to solve problems effectively, they become more empowered, more resilient. It becomes a habit. The book gives a practical plan for helping. Anticipate potential issues, ask clarifying questions, suggest resources, and plan ahead together.
Makes sense. Okay, nearly there. Our second to last takeaway is all about connection, making genuine connections with people. John's story about revisiting that small church in Indiana really brings this home.
Yeah, the warmth of those reconnections. The book argues connection is what allows people to travel to a higher level together, like a train connecting as cars. You need that link to move forward together, especially uphill.
So how do we build these connections? They list 9 steps. First, don't take people for granted. Simple, but easy to forget. Acknowledge their value.
Second, have a make-a-difference mindset. Believe you can positively impact others. Helen Keller's quote fits here. Life is an exciting business, most exciting when lived for others.
Third, be genuine. People spot fakeness. Fourth, look for common ground. Shared interests, experiences they build bridges.
Fifth, recognize and respect personality differences. They briefly mention Florence Littauer's 4 types. Just acknowledging people are wired differently helps connection. Sixth, find the key to others' lives, what motivates them, like Andrew Carnegie getting kids to collect clover for his rabbits by tapping into their desire to have their name on the cages.
Clever. Seventh, practice the golden rule +1. Don't just treat others as you want to be treated. Go the extra mile. The Nordstrom story about taking back the pajamas, even though they didn't sell them. Classic example.
Eighth, share common experiences. Do things together. Build shared memories. And ninth, show appreciation. Regularly acknowledge people's contributions and value. It strengthens the bond.
Okay, last key takeaway. Empowerment. Helping others reach their potential, like William Wolcott using wrapping paper for his sketches when he didn't have drafting paper, finding a way to enable potential.
Right. And to be an empowerer, the book says you generally need some kind of position or influence. Fred Smith's point. People often need permission or encouragement from a leader to step up.
They also list 10 challenging questions for potential empowerers, right? Asking if you're willing to invest, share credit, even let others surpass you.
Yeah, those really test your motives. A genuine yes suggests you're ready to empower. Then 5 steps to actually do it. 1, evaluate them, understand their strengths and potential. Like how Einstein was initially rejected from tech school evaluation isn't always perfect, but it's necessary.
2, model for them. People learn by watching. The parable of the farm boy finding the eagle's egg and raising it with chickens, it needed to see another eagle soar to realize its own potential.
3, believe in them. We covered this, but it's crucial for empowerment too. Danny Cox's quote about belief being contagious. 4, transfer authority. Don't just delegate tasks, delegate real decision-making power.
And 5, expect a return. But the focus should be on their development, their growth, not just what you get back immediately.
Exactly. And the ultimate payoff of empowerment, multiplication. You're not just leading followers, you're reproducing leaders. This expands resources, secures the future. G. Allen Bernard said strong leaders surround themselves with people even stronger in certain areas.
So the final emphasis is really on developing leaders, not just followers. They mention that perceived leadership crisis.
Right, referencing a New Republic article lamenting a lack of great leaders. The book argues the most vital task for any person of influence is actively reproducing more leaders.
Okay, quite a journey through influence. So just to quickly recap the big ideas we hit: the absolute necessity of integrity, the power of nurturing and believing in people, the critical skill of listening.
The importance of understanding perspectives and then enlarging them, helping people navigate problems, the art of connection, and finally, the immense impact of empowering others.
Becoming someone who influences positively isn't automatic, is it? It's a conscious decision. It takes deliberate effort focusing on these principles. The authors really leave you, the listener, with an invitation.
Yeah, a call to action. Think about it. Which of these principles really stood out to you right now? Which one feels most relevant? How could you maybe lean into that one principle starting today in your interactions? Maybe even pick one person this week you want to intentionally try to influence in a positive way using one of these ideas. Because it's those small, deliberate actions repeated over time that truly build influence and, well, make a difference.